is everybody? Oh, everyone is falling asleep. No, it's too hot. Okay, give me a thumb up if you like cons. If you're enjoying, thank you. Give me a thumb up if you like Bitcoin. Give me a thumb up if you have ever done any Bitcoin trading before. Trading Bitcoin. Give me a thumb up if you have done any Bitcoin staking before. Oh, no? Okay, we have one over there. Give me a thumb up if you have done any Bitcoin bridging before. No? Okay, we have a few. Nice, I love. Okay, so today we have a lovely panel with some super talented guests from very different industries. We have Feroz from Ankr, we have Marek from Rockaway, and Bora from Celestia. I will give the mic to you guys, maybe do a short introduction, whatever you want to tell us about, and then we'll dive into the questions.
Hi, my name is Feroz. I work with Ankr. I'm the brand director. Ankr is an infrastructure provider for 85 plus blockchains across the blockchain ecosystem. We actually support close to 10 different Bitcoin ecosystem chains as well. I'm very excited to be here, excited to work with Bob, Babylon, B Squared, BitLayer, a bunch of partners that all work very closely together to advance the Bitcoin ecosystem. And yeah, excited to talk with everybody on this panel. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hi. My name is Mark. I'm an investment partner at RockawayX. We are a crypto-native investment firm and infrastructure operator. We are investors in the BOB. We are working with BOB on the intent-based bridging. We are also providing infrastructure for BOB, so super happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Bora from Celestia. I lead ecosystem side of things. Celestia is the modular blockchain where you can build any chains, any apps on, and if you want to scale, basically. And we are also really, really excited to be working with Bob and have more presence in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Thank you so much. So our guests are coming from different segment of the crypto industry. We have infrastructure provider. We have Rockaway, who represent capital and investment. We also have Celestia, the leading DA layer in the space. And I want to ask you, what from the BTCFi opportunities, what opportunities excite you the most? What are some use cases that you are bullish on? And also, how can builders and users interact with Bitcoin from the lens of whatever that you're working on?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's exciting. We spoke a little bit before this panel to see the renaissance of Bitcoin, to see a lot of people coming back home to Bitcoin, which is where our entire industry really started, was from Bitcoin, and it kind of expanded, trying to expand the utility of blockchain in general, and it led into other blockchains being created. But it's really nice to see, different opportunities in the Bitcoin ecosystem that allow developers, builders, and even end users to come back home to Bitcoin, whether that's building on Bitcoin L2s and kind of bringing more users and capital back into Bitcoin where it's being used by everyday people, or even old school Bitcoin holders, Bitcoin whales that didn't really want to let go of their Bitcoin. They didn't trust any other opportunities in the space. And now they're finally seeing opportunities to be able to stake and earn a little rewards back on their Bitcoin while helping secure other ecosystems and allowing Bitcoin to expand further than where it's been for the past decade or so.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I would maybe structure it in two ways. Like one is like what I'm personally like bullish on, and I think like Bitcoin lending is still not done well. Like if you check basically like red Bitcoin lending on Aave or Morpho, like the yields are not there, utilization is not there. It's literally a product that is just like too clunky to use. I think maybe like a unit and like bridging to hyperliquid shows that there is a demand actually like to utilize Bitcoin like for like to further utilize it within the DeFi ecosystem. From that perspective, I think like BitVM is going to be like extremely second important. So I think like there is like two things. One is going to be the unlocking of the lending, and second is going to be like a broader Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem that is like yet to be developed.
Just wanted to add on a little bit on the lending side, but I just feel like when I meet the Bitcoiners, they're like, oh yes, I'm very excited about like Bitcoin as collateral, but they don't want to use their real Bitcoin, right? So I just think this is like a very unique like opportunity in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So that's why like maybe you're talking about the BTC as collateral or like BTC backed borrowing opportunities here. But also like I just feel this is, and you mentioned about like some people are using the BTCFi already, and definitely like the use case would be earning yields on like idle Bitcoin. And I think, you know, like the Bitcoiners, they want the simple, trustworthy yield that's like, it won't be like as high as like Ethereum. Maybe it will just be like 4 or 5%. But I think they just want like a stable, trustworthy, like source. So that's why, you know, a while ago there was like a discussion about BitVM. That's why this trust minimized bridging on like the BitVM opportunity is also very important.
Yeah, I feel like we all kind of touched on, you know, like a few topics, which is, you know, clunky UI or bridging is not easy as it could be. So maybe just diving deeper a little bit on this, what is kind of the design trade-off? What is the trade-off that you see that people have to make when they do either Bitcoin, BTCFi as a user, or from a builder perspective, when they do want to do something with Bitcoin, what do you see as the major blocker right now at this stage?
Definitely bridging, right? That's why people, you know, that's why the people were like, you know, in the question they were like, oh, the Bitcoin UX is bad, and for people, they're not really like used to, you know, trading Bitcoin or like maybe lending Bitcoin or, you know, staking Bitcoin. They're not really used to it. So I think definitely there's like this hurdle behind that, and the trust minimized bridging. So that's why we want to accelerate this initiative called BitVM.
So maybe like one obstruction is the mentality, and I think there's like a, you know, the unwillingness to actually try and experiment. And I think like we had like some hints like during the ordinals era that like actually like the Bitcoin ecosystem is willing to actually engage with the broader DeFi ecosystem, or basically like with the new innovative stuff such as ordinals. But at this point, I think like one, we don't see that the yield that is actually possible to generate like just on chain is like would pass as sustainable or something that is like worth the exposure. The lending yields, you know, like if you look into Aave or stuff, like it's not probably like worth the security trade-off. And so I think like those are probably like that. Like one obstacle is like actually just like mental and maybe educational and like mindset shift that needs to happen. And the second is actually the security needs to develop, but also like the products around Bitcoin that like offer yield need to be like properly structured. So like they are institutional already.
Yeah, I want to quickly just respond to what you just mentioned on the mentality and the habit side of things, because it's not just user or Bitcoin holders who is hesitant, it's also builders. I remember back then when you mentioned Ordinal, when it first became a big thing, our team actually very quickly decided to jump on it. We're like, okay, now that Ethereum degens who hold NFTs are interested in inscribing something on Bitcoin, since they're the similar crowd, but you actually have to use very different wallets and infrastructure to interact with the ORD protocol or inscriptions. So we actually built a MetaMask Snap, which is like an extension that you can install on top of your MetaMask. This way users will be able to directly access their inscription portfolio in their EVM wallet. So at the time, we thought that there would be a product market fit. We thought, okay, a lot of people are going to be using this because you can basically see your NFT collection next to your Ordinals collection in the same wallet. But when we actually go talk to all of these like Ordinals protocols, people who's building it on this chain, we're like, do you want to support MetaMask in your wallet so people can do that? We got a lot of feedback, which is like, we actually don't want to, because we don't want anything that's not Bitcoin only. We don't want anything that is EVM. So this kind of feedback, I think, hinders definitely a little bit the speed of, I guess, adoption when it comes to the native Bitcoin side of things. But from last year, we definitely also see a lot more adoption, I guess, on the wrapped version of Bitcoin, like the L2 side of things. And And I know that Ankr actually have a whole product suite helping sidechains or like L2s to get Bitcoin security, right? Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, on the first point, right, it's a lot around the philosophy of Bitcoin holders that really want that trustlessness. And so I think a lot of the older solutions were very centralized and required people to trust a specific protocol to bridge their Bitcoin, which has been changing a lot, which kind of gives people a lot more security now that they see opportunities where they don't have to trust a specific organization or protocol. So there's a lot more trustless opportunities. But even with like the ordinals, I was one of those people that was, I think in the beginning they asked how many people started with Bitcoin or something other than Bitcoin, and everybody raised their hands. And that was me. Like I started with Ethereum. I was interested in Bitcoin, but I actually started my DeFi journey in Ethereum. And last year I started running a Bitcoin node. I started inscribing on ordinals, and I really wanted to get into the Bitcoin ecosystem and kind of get back to where all of this started. And I think that's been the mentality of a lot of people, whether it's whales, old school holders, builders, everybody alike really wanted to get back into Bitcoin because of the original Bitcoin ethos, and they didn't want to use MetaMask to look at Bitcoin stuff. They wanted to use something within the Bitcoin ecosystem. And that's, as an infrastructure provider to your question, we also work with a lot of institutions. We work with a lot of partners that have been building solutions in the blockchain space, but really wanted to have Bitcoin security, really wanted to come back home to Bitcoin. So one of our bigger partners is Babylon. We're a finality provider with Babylon. We're also an implementation partner. So if anybody has a proof of stake chain and they want to use Bitcoin, the security of Bitcoin to help secure their proof of stake protocol, that's something that we help with quite a few different partners. So that's been a big part. Bitcoin secured infrastructure is just kind of something we branded because, like I said, we work with close to 10 different Bitcoin L2s or Bitcoin ecosystem chains. And that's just what we've seen over the past year and a half. And we get more and more inquiries every single day about people wanting to bring Bitcoin into their ecosystem and trying to find the best way to do that, whether it's to bring some of the liquidity in, whether it's to bring some of the security, some of the economic security from Bitcoin into their protocol. Any way that they can incorporate it is something that a lot of people are interested in at the moment.
Yeah, talking about Babylon, I think it's a very great example of showcasing the different use cases that Bitcoin can embody. Because before, Bitcoin was always criticized for being the only purpose of Bitcoin is peer-to-peer transaction. But actually now with protocols like Babylon, you can provide securities to roll-ups, to chains that's not in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And Bob actually is a Bitcoin secured network. So we are in deep partnership with Babylon. And also with projects that's in the Babylon ecosystem. So when you go to Bob, look for those DeFi opportunities, you not only interact with like WBTC or TBTC, you also can interact with protocols like restaking protocols or staking protocols where you can earn yield that's coming from outside of EVM, which is coming from the Babylon ecosystem. And we're looking for more ways, tapping back to Marek's, what you mentioned about the yield side of things. We're looking for more ways to bring those yield, a diverse range of yields, not just lending supply yield or trading yields, but how can we take those Bitcoin and then bring it to other ecosystems, for example, like Solana or other EVM chains, and then wrap it back and then bring it back to native Bitcoin holders. And of course, there's a lot of different components to this process. A lot of things have to be built, but this is why we're here and networking with every one of you. I have a question for Bora here. So Celestia is a very unique design, right? And I know that part of the Celestia's design is actually inspired by the Bitcoin block size war. And have you seen in the ecosystem any use cases or protocols that's leveraging Celestia for BTCFi or scaling Bitcoin so far?
Yeah, right now we don't really have a big Bitcoin presence yet. So that's why we're really excited to start with Bob, for example, because Bob is right now the only the roll-up on Bitcoin that also has the EVM compatibility. So maybe starting with Bob, excited to expand more.
I would be curious to learn from you. From your interaction, what do you think could be the blocker from people, considering doing BTCFi stuff in your ecosystem?
Oh, I think definitely the BTCFi won't be a big burden, I would say. But I think the technical implementations of it, you mentioned like the MetaMask snaps was like a while ago, but I just feel like the BTC rollups, the BTC L2s is kind of hard to integrate, for example, on a native Ethereum. And since most of our ecosystem projects are the rollups on top of Ethereum, like right now we are not like we don't really have like a big presence yet, but a lot of DeFi protocols are gonna be launching on Celestia, like Hibachi and more. So with that, we're planning to like expand and collaborate with other Bitcoin providers as well.
Yeah, maybe going a little bit more towards the BitVM side of things, because I understand that a lot of people here, including myself, is still trying to wrap my head around what is BitVM, how do you work with it. BitVM is a kind of like a vision right now. It's not something that's retail ready. And there's operators that need to be involved. There's like we want institutions to provide liquidity to support this system. And I want to hear from you guys, when you think about a new technology like this, which is a very utopia future for the Bitcoin, what is kind of the, how do you evaluate adoption? What do you think would help for for you guys to decide to tap into this ecosystem? What are some of the concerns you might have? Do you see any demand or interest so far from your networks? And but just this general feedback on how do you think will be the best way for you guys to approach these opportunities, or how can BitVM builders engage with you if they want you to take part in the projects?
So I can take a stab. I think Bitcoin is playing a catch-up here, right? So like there's many chains that offer programmability and are competing on this on either performance, speeds, latency, bless you, and so I think like that's one game that like is being played, and like Bitcoin is actually like doing entering actually through the BitVM this arena of like let's utilize the Bitcoin security and like let's offer the programmability. I think like the huge assumption is that like currently like the amount of like Bitcoin that is like breached either through like BBTC or like Coinbase, like CBBTC and others, it's still like minuscule like from the whole Bitcoin issued. And so from that perspective, it's I think like the opportunity is rather like to create a new experience for already existing users and like basically like coming to them. So like the metaphor I like to like use in my to conceptualize is like it's like going to a different country and building the same business, because like these like for some reasons like the users are just like not coming, not bridging. I think like the missing piece is hopefully the BitVM, and I think like that's the vision. And so I think we will need to see like if that's actually realized. But I feel like the phase 1 or phase 0 is going to be basically like a rebuilding like a basic DeFi within that ecosystem. I think there's like many teams like sprinting like to build a BitVM ecosystem, and so I think like the opportunity is there. So it's a race like who will be there first, and I think like it's not going to be decided by the teams that are building on an ecosystem, but rather on the ecosystem and how ecosystem play is being done, i.e. Are you in onboarding the institutions? Are you working not only on the R&D side, on the BitVM side, but are you working with the ecosystem to actually like be ready when the tech is ready to launch?
Yeah, I also wanted to talk about, like we all talked about the mentality briefly, and I feel like Bitcoin is kind of like, if like the OG cabal, like I don't want any other assets besides Bitcoin, and this is kind of like a running joke around the Bitcoiners. And I just feel like among the builders, among the developers, there should be like a little bit of open mentality that like the other tokens, like open mindset about reading other docs, like kind of adopting other ecosystem, just like you mentioned. That would be like a mentality thing that we can kind of step on. But I just wanted to talk about the institutions, because I feel like at some point, especially this year and like last year. Just feel like now the government side and the big institutions are coming to crypto, and this is like a change that we should definitely like focus on. And the having like more custodians, having more institutions like Robinhood. We saw all of us saw the announcement yesterday. For them, this means we will have like a better UX for like Bitcoin and like more because they are the biggest BTC holders, right? And like on the nationality level, I think Bitcoin is the only asset that like real countries are like paying attention to. So yeah, I just wanted to say yes, builder side as well, but also on the institution side. Yeah.
I just wanted to second that. I think that's a perfect point. And something that we've been talking a lot about recently is, before it was a lot of BTC whales, maybe some financial institutions that were getting into it. Now you see nation states, you see major companies, organizations, people that aren't in the finance space at all that are starting to accumulate Bitcoin on a massive scale. And when you start seeing that adoption from not just financial institutions, but from everyday people, from nation states, from governments, from reserves, that's when you really start to see the opportunity start to rise in expanding this ecosystem and making it a little bit more usable and making the UX a little bit easier for people to get into, because people do really want to get into it, and they're starting more and more to see the benefit of it. But changing the UX and making it a little bit easier to understand, a little bit easier to use, and a little bit more innovative, like what BitVM is trying to bring to the space, is really going to be what brings that barrier down just a little bit.
Yeah. I love this, and I guess like a follow-up question on the institutional side, from your experience when you push, because like BitVM is for the purpose of having a more trust minimized, more decentralized way for basically processing Bitcoin transaction for Bitcoin bridging. Do you think institutions care about decentralization as much as we think? And if yes, why? And if not, how can we, why would they care and why should they care about decentralization? Open-ended question, happy to hear anything that you have on this thoughts.
Yeah, I think I can jump in. I think custodians, to be honest, care more about the UX than decentralization. And we all kind of know when with the institutions adopting crypto, they kind of care about more about UX, right? But I think the reason decentralization and like sovereignty is important is because like the OG Bitcoiners, they care about the self-custody decentralization. So that's why I'm very excited, because we will have like both players who care about decentralization and at the same time like our UX in terms of like BTCFi or like any BitVM like trust minimizing bridging will be coexistent. So that's why I'm kind of excited about. If you guys want to add to it.
Like, I think current institution probably like don't care too much. Like that's the reality, and I think we operate on a different scale of in terms of like what like what different people in the room would consider like decentralized enough. I think like we are having discussions with Solana decentralized. Is 30,000 validators a lot? Do you need to have a home staking nodes? It's a spectrum. I think the clear signal is that like whatever Ethereum is doing is like enough, and like the fact that like Robinhood and all the major institutions are going to like currently existing solutions means that like it's at this stage enough. Whether it's being like Solana attracting some of the institutional flow as well as Ethereum. So I think like that's not really going to be the differentiator. Like from this perspective, I think like the BTVM is going to be like much more novel technology, and it just like for institutions like to even start noticing and like interacting, it will take like a longer time like to start deploying anything on it.
Yeah, agreed. I think both points are on the money. In terms of institutions, I don't think they really care. I think what really accelerated the adoption from like nation states and governments, I think that had a lot more to do with the decentralization and the trustlessness of the Bitcoin ecosystem. But once that adoption came in terms of institutions, they just want to see the benefit, right? Like people, for most investments, want to see 4 or 5% return. With Bitcoin, they want to see maybe an 8% return. So that kind of gets their crypto risk, out of there with getting the additional return on that. But whether it's decentralized or centralized, permissionless, permissioned, I don't think that really makes much of a difference to institutions. Like traditionally everything that they've worked in has been permissioned, has been centralized. So I don't think that really has much to do with why they would or would not join into the ecosystem.
I really appreciate these perspective because you really bring us back to thinking about, what is the role for institutions to play here and understanding what actually the LPs, what do they actually care about and from there to understand the scaling there, because there's definitely going to be a lot of challenges related to adoption, especially when it comes to the more conservative players in the industry. I want to bring our conversation back to the last question, which is going to be a little bit of an open-ended question and a creative one. This is personal, so not representing your company or anything. In an ideal future, if anything in your dream can achieve, how would people interact with Bitcoin or crypto in general? What would be the ideal Bitcoin and crypto future for you?
I don't want to limit a little bit. I don't want to limit only to Bitcoin, but Bitcoin, of course, having more, and just crypto in general. I just dream of a world where it's bankless. We don't really rely on the national currencies, the national banks, where we can just like transfer money here and there. And yeah, I don't think I was that creative, but that is also like why I really was into crypto, like, reading the Bitcoin white paper, like not your keys, not your coins. So I just really feel the importance of self-custody and, just Venmoing with a friend who's not from my country, right? So I just dream about this like bankless and also like national adopted Bitcoin and crypto in general, yeah.
For me, it's going to be just like a backbone of the financial system for like new rails for internet money. And at this point, like I think like this vision is, going to realize quite soon. And so it's going to be the new financial system rebuilt just for the internet for all financial assets.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of along the same lines. I don't know if this is a very creative answer, but I would really like to see Bitcoin be the reserve currency. It's already become the default reserve currency of the blockchain ecosystem for a lot of stable coins and a lot of other protocols. I think seeing that become the reserve currency globally would really be the next step. And that's really what I envision. I see it happening. I don't know how far away it is. But, I'm from the US, and seeing the US dollar being like the global reserve currency is great. But I think replacing it with a decentralized currency like Bitcoin is really going to expand a lot of opportunities. Even as we see, like recently I've been reading a lot more about like digital nation states. So you don't even necessarily have a physical nation, but people are creating their own sovereign digital nation states. And they're all adopting Bitcoin as their reserve currency. And I see like actual nation states doing that hopefully in the next decade or so. And we'll see a big proliferation of how crypto is used. Like we already use it as, sending money back and forth across the world, very fast, very cheap, very easy. But it's still based, pegged to, sending USDT, USDC, some sort of stable coin that's based on a fiat currency, which as much as it feels secure at the moment, long term, I think that's the opposite of what we really want to do. And I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think that's really where we're headed, and I'm excited for that future.
I am actually personally a big fan of the book Network State and everything that Balaji is trying to do. So often I do picture, like us crypto people almost be representing different digital community rather than, traditional nation states and swagging our own currencies. And I feel like it's already realizing, especially in this like conference settings when we're interacting with each other in this way. I guess we have 2 more minutes. We do have a question from one of our audience. What about validators and operators, decentralized and not only commercial and institutional infra providers? It looked like, I'm not sure which part of the, I'm not sure if it's asking about Bitcoin, BTCFi, BitVM, or if the person who's asking is here, can let me know. Okay, no one raised their hand.
Who is anonymous?
If it's, do we have anything to comment on this? Or if not, we can. Well, you,
I don't really know how to answer that
yeah,
question.
well, you know what? Whoever posed this question, come find us and we can discuss more and expand on this. So I guess very last piece is if there's anything that you want to share with the audience, anything that you are building right now that you're excited about, or if people want to connect with you, where can they find you? Maybe I will start as an example. So my name is Zhixi. I work on the BD team at BOB. Yeah, I'm right here. So if you're building anything along the line of Bitcoin interoperability, or if you want to bring native Bitcoin access to your protocol, or if you have very interesting DeFi ideas for Bitcoin-related assets, come talk to me afterward. And Bara.
Yeah. If you're curious about anything about Celestia, or if you want to scale and make your Bitcoin also high performant, chat with me.
Yeah, for me, like I'm actively looking for investments, so you know where to find me typically.
Yeah, so here at Ankr, we've been expanding a lot of our infrastructure over the last year. We've actually moved off of Cloudflare. Everything is all, we have privacy preserving RPC infrastructure. So all of the data runs through our own fiber optics, our own node balancer. And again, we support over 85 networks, including almost 10 different Bitcoin ecosystem chains. So if you have any infrastructure needs, staking infrastructure, node, RPC developer infrastructure, or just have questions about anything that you want to build, something you're interested in, we'd be more than happy to help you do that. You can find us at Ankr on Twitter. Ankr.com is our website. You can find me, Firoz Lakhani, on LinkedIn, Twitter, all the social network profiles. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you so much.